So these kids are working on blogs. Again, authentic writing.
The world.
And one of the things he was excited about, that everybody can access his work if he wants them to. So that's a powerful thing to show a child that if you have, and there's kids all over this country, if you go onto the internet, there are kids all over this country that have their own blogs and talk about a variety of different things. So if you have a child that's excited about writing, what a great tool to use with them. So you can see, just like in any other technology, you have to have a management plan in place. So it's not the technology that's really the issue. It's about being organized and having that management piece in place. Now when you look at that, I'm just going to stop it for a second and do what I did in the classroom and kind of just talk about things. But so when you look at that and you see, okay, they're creating a picture board, that's great, he's going to be the next George Lucas. What does that have to do with school? The reality is, what is he doing? He's sequencing, which is a major thing that they have to learn how to do. Sequencing ties into reading comprehension. So you're teaching kids how to sequence events, how to organize thoughts. Same skills you use in writing class. You know, so again, though these are middle schoolers and high schoolers, you're going to see slightly elevated in regard to, you know, the level which the kids are working. This is where we need to be going in regard to how we're talking about some of these things. So though it may not seem on the surface, oh, they're playing or they're creating a movie, there are skills within that. One being collaboration. When you talk about a team of people that get together and they're taking snapshots of the screens as they modified their task, well, you know, they're documenting and archiving their work. You know, so there are things going on that are teaching kids skills as we do that. Now, this is a whole new way of teaching for a teacher. So to get teachers to begin to think in that way is a new way. And I never had to learn that either. So it's new for all of us. So we're kind of learning as we go. So don't expect overnight that, boom, everybody's going to be doing it the way that you're seeing it on the video. And this is video that our CMS people took going down there to bring back to us to kind of talk to us about some of these things. But, you know, I think it's important for our school to be on the cutting edge of where we think things are going to go. So this is kind of, just to kind of share with you where we're at. I'm going to let you continue, but I wanted you to know that, you know, some people will be like, well, all they're doing is playing. And it's not necessarily the case. It could look like that on the surface, but it's not necessarily the case. There's sometimes a method to the madness, as we all like to tell the kids. So after seeing that, questions, thoughts, anything that came up? Yes, sir.
Is there a device not allowed?
No, that's a good question. That was one of the things that came up. Any device would be able to access the filtered wireless system. So if you have a Kindle Fire, or if you had an iPod Touch that had wireless access, any of those tools, when we would use them in the classroom, would be considered accessible. So anything, I guess, it doesn't have to be an Apple product. Samsung, the Galaxy is a cheaper version. I know there's a bunch of other stuff out there too. Yes?
I came a little bit late.
Yes.
When is this
Good. We're starting, it won't be happening in the younger grades right off the bat. We're going to actually, we were one of 21 schools that were selected for it. We are starting with our 5th graders. Once we feel like the infrastructure is in place, they already have the infrastructure in place, plus the access due to a grant of the iPads. So we're starting there with our older kids, and as time progresses, we are going to slowly trickle it down. You probably won't see it being used as a research tool as much in K1, probably. But it still can be used under the right circumstances. So it will be coming, but we're starting in 5th grade. Go ahead.
Is there a certain curriculum? What should we be looking for? Or I guess the question is there certain teachers going to be doing different things than another teacher? Or
yeah, that is a good question, and it's going to come. You heard them say they called it the. What do they call it? The collaboration of the willing or something like that. You know, it is going to be different from room to room based on the comfort level of the teacher. Just to give you an example, we have a 1st grade teacher that we just brought on this year, and you know, she's probably going to die that I say her name on the video, but her name's Jennifer Bryn. She's a 1st grade teacher. Really doesn't have very much experience at all. She taught 1 year at another school, came here this year, but she is very in tune as a new graduate from college with technology. So she has jumped on things creatively that I would never in my mind have pictured a 1st grade class being able to do in regard to her Twitter account and just doing different things in the classroom, different things. Now, you will also have a teacher that may have you don't have to use years of experience. It may only have 7 years of experience that didn't even have an iPad themselves until August, when I handed them one from our parent-teacher organization that is in the infancy of learning what these things can do. So you will see some variance in regard from room to how to use. We are asking all of our teachers at different times, and I apologize, we're doing book checkout, is that you should be seeing it being used during workshop time in every class. And now workshop time in reading and math is a time where they're working on their differentiated instruction. So children will have access to, the computers, and it's not just the iPad by itself. They do have access to the computers, smart boards if they're in the classroom, iPads and different things when they fit. Again, it's not about trying to make it fit. It's about, oh, this is a great activity that they can work on that ties into exactly what we're talking about. When we do workshop, I'm going to have this group of kids work on this. So, you may go some days where they won't use it at all. And that's what they were saying, in some classes you may use it less than others. Reading is a little bit more complicated to use it than it is in math or maybe science and social studies. You can, but it's not as cut and dry as working on a basic skill. Maybe like in math, you can solve problems. It's pretty concrete. Reading's a little more abstract, but a cool way that some people are using it in reading, and Ms. Jenko actually was using it yesterday, is that she had her students creating a timeline, and that's something they're doing in 3rd grade for a heroes activity that they're working on. But when they finished collecting their details, they actually went and videoed each other, kind of talking about their characters. So say they were talking about Harriet Tubman. Well, they went to the back of the room and they, pulled on the video and they actually recorded what their thoughts were about what they learned about that. So again, another great way to kind of ingrain what you learned versus just writing it down and putting it away. You're not talking about it a little bit. The more you talk about it, the more you learn, the more you remember. So it's another great way to quickly use a skill, maybe in a reading or a media class, you can do that. So I think you're going to see some inconsistencies early on. And, even later on, there's going to be some people that are just much more capable of doing it than others. Coming from a situation where I had a chalkboard as a teacher, not even a whiteboard, this is massive leaps from even where I was at, and you could have picked 20 years ago. I've been in the system for 20 years. So imagine where some of these people are feeling completely like fish out of water. So we try to train them. We're giving them opportunities to learn. So it's going to be a work in progress. So it'll be inconsistent. But it's a great question.
And it's much more interesting.
Yeah.
My kid goes crazy whenever we pull out an iPhone or an iPad.
Right.
So, as far as learning, he has a 4-year-old brother. And it's difficult sometimes to get him to stay focused.
Right.
But when we're talking about an iPad or he learns or he plays with mine, he really pays attention, and so I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Now the other thing we've tried to do is, we have smart boards in 23 of our classrooms. We've kind of gone away from the smart board. We're starting to look at buying projectors for our other rooms, which is a cheaper alternative. And then you can hook your computer right up to the projector, or you can hook your iPad right up to the projector and still use it in a similar way. But we've actually asked our teachers to start using the smart boards as part of workshop. We actually started this last year where, just because you're in workshop working in small groups, why can't there be 2 or 3 students up here working on an activity right on the smart board, if it fits? Again, so you'll walk into a lower grade classroom especially, and you'll come into a workshop class, and if they have a smart board, kids will be up manipulating objects. If, say, they're working on geometric shapes, they'll be up there and sorting geometric shapes. Not only are they working on their shapes, they're also working on sorting, which is a major component of the Common Core. So, again, seems like they're playing, more engaged perhaps, but in reality they're learning at the same time. And again, it's complicated and it's complex, because to get teachers to start to think that way and to get me to think that way is going to be a work in progress, but we're working on it. Yes?
I'm all for technology and everything, but I'm just kind of wondering, are you as a school, or are we stepping back from hands-on building, creating, and designing, and doing projects, and that kind of aspect? Are we completely stepping away from that, or is that still going to be an integration and part of the class to where we're doing it like 50-50?
I think it's great.
Have some kids who maybe are tech savvy, but
I think
and they have the others that aren't, and they learn better hands-on creating.
Fantastic question. The reality is they go hand in hand to me. So what you hope is you give children opportunities to choose in some aspects. So say you're using a contract method in workshop, which children have an option of choices. It's a way to choose. You know, you're giving a child that may be much more adept at building to build if they choose, or somebody wants to use a video to do the same thing. That's absolutely fine. You create opportunities for kids to try to work with their strengths. The other thing is it can kind of enhance that group project hands-on activity where you may have part of your group working on something that is researching on a electronic or technology tool while the rest of the group is creating their project. Or the people are collecting the data or whatever they're going to do, and then you're going to put that in a presentation format. Or you may have some students that like to be in front of the camera, which we do have quite a few that love to be on the camera, because we're actually seeing kids taking video all over the school now, where they will be more than happy to be on air and do those kind of things. So to me, they go very much hand in hand. It's definitely not throw the baby out with the bathwater here. And in fact, I don't want you to think that it means it stops textbooks either. You know, it doesn't mean best practice is best practice. So one of the things I wrote in the Hawkeye this week is that technology is not taking the place of. It's to enhance. So best practice in teaching is not going away. There's thousands, well not thousands, there's hundreds of years of research showing what works. You know, so some lecture is going to still happen, because lecture in small doses is good. Small group instruction is still going to happen because that is good for kids. Collaboration is going to happen. Group projects are still going to happen. Those things are all going to happen. You want to use the technology to try to enhance that and just make it better. That doesn't mean it takes over. So it's a great question. So it's going to make that still happen for those kids. Yes?
All the videos going on and all the photography going on, is there release from all the children?
Every parent, well, every parent at the beginning of the school year has to fill out a release form to have video on. Now, if parents voice concern in regard to that, we don't put them in the video. Now, they can be in whole group shots, but they're not supposed to be in individuals. And most of our teachers are saying if the parents said they don't want to be in, we try to make every possibility that they're not in anything. And you know, that's kind of worked out with individual parents, but that kind of goes under that video release that parents do at the very beginning of the school year. And some parents are vehement that they don't want their child on, and I'm totally cool with it, and so are the teachers. You know, the kids sometimes ask questions about how come I'm not on or not this, and you know, that becomes a complicated question sometimes. But the reality is that's a parental decision. So we honor that in any way we possibly can here at the school. We're not putting somebody in a video that doesn't need to be. So again, that's an opportunity for that child to work on something else in the same group.
And our Facebook page and our web page.
You know, on the Facebook page, in most cases, I don't put individual kids up there. So whole group, like if I took a picture, for instance, of Boosterthon, and it was a crowd,
right,
that's okay. That still falls under the video release form, because I'm not saying this is Jimmy, you know, putting their full names on there. You know, there's going to be situations like if I took a picture of this whole room, you know, Miss Mack may not want to be in the picture, and she may not want her, you know, she may assign the release form, but unless I point 2 arrows at her and say, that's Tara's mom, you know, and you know, that kind of thing, we shouldn't have any problem with that. So I honestly don't put that many photos on there that aren't whole group. We did a couple of 5th grade ones, but beyond that I haven't.
I had another parent ask me if we had permission to put it on the web page.
Yeah. So I mean that's honestly what we use.